So in Module 1, we took a look at the frame, a team kid mindset. And essential to that frame is caring, and of course, the importance of relationships. Each and every one of us knows that. And one profound speaker that I love to refer back to when it comes to this system of caring is Margaret Wheatley. I found one of her quotes at the beginning of the pandemic, and it stuck with me. With all of this uncertainty, it is possible to prepare for the future without knowing what it will be. The primary way to prepare for the unknown is to attend to the quality of our relationships, to how well we know and trust one another. And so a metaphor that's also helped me carry through is going back to her readings around the aspen trees. Now, you might know a little bit about this sense of systemness and this sense of connectedness, carrying forward this metaphor that holds so much meaning about what we do. So there's a beautiful story about the aspen trees, and one that Maria Shriver likes to call forward for many of us. And she talks about walking through a grove of aspen trees and smelling the trees and just the beautiful bounty and abundance that was surrounding her. And as she was talking with her colleague, he started to really share more about the context of the aspen trees. You see, they have a really deep root system that's incredibly connected. And in fact, when one aspen tree is struggling, believe it or not, the aspen tree system can send nutrients, perhaps support, and for many of us, love towards that tree. The story of the aspen trees is a way to carry forward how we are connected as leaders. We have deep roots in our system, and as educators, we connect all of these resources for our kids, our community, and in lots of different settings. The classroom has been beyond the bricks and mortar. So hold on maybe to this aspen trees if you think about this caring relationship and how the world provides us, our biological world provides us so many opportunities to see it in action. So just like Maria Shriver, she had somebody she was buddying up with on this story. And in fact, I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing. Maybe it's with an educator, or also thinking about how you might have your students buddy up in the classroom. There's some great resources out there at no cost to educators, but also that reflect the voice of educators. One such thing is some meet up and buddy up cards from Harmony Education. And so this little character Z is on the screen, right? And he comes to the classroom and says, help me make sense of this world. What's happening? And in one way that they do this work is by buddying up. There's an app and there's some resources that you can go to on that website in your study guide. And this one might even get you started with thinking about your own personal relationship in this space and something to discuss with your students. Take a look. What might be the 3 things that you'd like to accomplish? And in your classroom, of course, with the masks and social distancing, have your students start sharing that, or perhaps on one of the platforms that you use in your classroom. This continual classroom community building, meeting up, buddying up, meeting new students in the classroom context or in different learning settings is a powerful way to continue building those relationships. In fact, as this year started, there was a wonderful article called Looking into the 2021 Telescope. And perhaps I'm saying it's wonderful because I got to collaborate with great, great authors, one of whom will be in this series with you, Dr. Tyrone Howard. He talks about culturally relevant and responsive practices in the context of social emotional learning. I talked about academic integration in the context of social emotional learning. And additional authors came together to really think about what does it mean for adult learners, what might assessment look like in this place, and what might planning look like in this place. So take a moment, go to your learning guide, and let's preview some of those ideas. What makes sense and why? Welcome back. Did you find something you just loved? Well, my hunch is you did. And that work is really informed by a landmark report that really shifted this nation from thinking about ourselves as a nation at risk to a nation at hope. And so when we think about that work, this group came together, policymakers, classroom teachers, not-for-profit leaders. Over 200 folks came together to say, social emotional learning matters. And what we found in this pandemic is it not only matters, but it needs to be amplified to a voluminous model in all schools and in all places. So this landmark report really helped us shift again from being in that place of risk, but really into a place of hope. So jot down some notes as we continue. What are you thinking about when you think about the telescope and this important landmark report? This report really took us back to a space of mattering. Do we feel that we matter? What are some ways that you engage in this in your classroom each and every day? Because it's one thing to have a report, but it's another thing to take it in the place of our classroom. One colleague that I'd like to highlight for you is Angela Meyers. She talks about the genius of our students and how much they do matter and how we build those social emotional relationships in our classroom. A strategy you could do now is really to think about what might your classroom manifesto be? So many of us wake up in the day and we think about, here's my mantra. Here's how I'm going to change the world. Or here's how I'm going to look in the mirror and think about my day with my youngsters. Angela offers this one, maybe to get you started as a model. She says, you are enough. You have influence. You are genius. You have a contribution to make. You have a gift that others need. Your actions define your impact, and you are the change. And ultimately, you matter. And you matter in accelerating the learning so that we build back better. In fact, this is the title to the follow-up article that you saw in Module 1 from Linda Darling-Hammond. She says that we need to build back better with everything that we have learned. The acceleration of social emotional learning, giving teachers time to build caring relationships with students, and how we care for one another. So if we are going to change this world, we're going to do it one relationship at a time. And you are a person who can magnify those efforts. You can help the students solve the problems of the day. You can help them think about their own confidence, their own sense of efficacy. We can celebrate one another. And boy, don't we all just need a virtual hug in this world that we're experiencing. So I'm going to dare you to do this. Be like broccoli. Now, I know you're probably thinking, where has she gone? She's gone from aspen trees to broccoli. Well, continuing some of those metaphors. Where are my scientists? You're right there, aren't you? Each and every one of us is an inquirer, so we got a little bit of a scientist in ourselves. So in thinking about being like broccoli is a fractal. What does that mean? If there's a big piece of broccoli and you break off the smaller piece, that smaller piece looks just like the larger piece. So broccoli is a fractal. And what I'm going to ask you to do is think about being broccoli. How might you continue to break off this wisdom, building relationships, maybe just one at a time, but how they will really fractal throughout your system? Be precise with your language, be daring with your caring, and be unapologetic about leading with love in your classroom, in your community, and in the greater global community.